Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai may be one of the most talked about CEOs in big tech today, and that's because he faces a huge challenge trying to navigate the company from dominating search to the future in artificial intelligence. Given Alphabet's very low valuation compared to most other big tech companies, the market obviously questions his ability to do this. But is Sundar Pichai actually one of the best CEOs in Silicon Valley? Let's go through the numbers and show exactly what Sundar Pichai has done as CEO before looking forward. Pichai really came on the scene in 2015 when he took over Google. That is the vast majority of Alphabet's business. So I'm going to do most of this analysis going back 10 years because taking over the rest of Alphabet in 2019 really just entailed a lot of other bets that he was now in charge of. But the core business has been under his purview for a decade now. And over that decade, the stock is up about 400%. That is despite the fact that the valuation multiples have actually come down. The price to operating cash flow is just 15 times right now. Since 2015, Google Properties revenue, which is now called Search and Other, has gone from $52 billion in revenue to $203 billion in revenue. YouTube ads revenue has gone up more than 4x from $8.2 billion to $37 billion. Even Google Network has more than doubled in size to $30.2 billion. But the real growth under Pichai has been in other areas like Android, YouTube TV, and Google subscriptions. You can see their subscriptions, platforms, and devices business has gone from a $7.2 billion business to a $42 billion business over the past decade. And Google Cloud, which they just started breaking out in 2017, is up more than 10x from $4.1 billion in revenue to $46 billion in revenue. All of this has happened under Pichai's leadership. So looking backwards, I think it's hard to criticize a lot of the moves that Pichai has made. He has been a great steward of the business, and he's improved the profitability and the margins of Alphabet overall. But we also need to look at how he's setting up the business for the future. And that starts with artificial intelligence. In AI, Google is really one of the leaders, and that goes all the way back to their acquisition of DeepMind. That happened slightly before Pichai took over as CEO of Google, but he has been a steward of being one of the leading model makers and now arguably the best model making company ahead of OpenAI on a lot of benchmarks with their Gemini 2.5 models. He's also built out the infrastructure, both the Google Cloud and the distribution platforms like Android that are going to be key to growing this business long term. The challenge Pichai has is keeping the search business growing, keeping it profitable as artificial intelligence changes the economics. There have been a lot of questions about whether he can do that, whether Google as a company can remain as profitable as it is today when it's driven by artificial intelligence rather than 10 blue links. But we don't currently see any evidence that that's not going to be the case. And Pichai has said in conference calls recently that AI overviews, which is really their first step into moving artificial intelligence into the search bar, monetizes just as well as Google search did. Now, Google is throwing a lot of things at the wall when it comes to artificial intelligence products, but they're clearly leaning on their distribution advantage with Google search, their ownership of Chrome, and their search deal with Apple to push their artificial intelligence features through the search bar. And I think that is a great strategy for the company to continue to grow as it moves on to new developments like the Gemini app and other devices on Android. So let's talk about some of those new products because these are being developed under Pichai's leadership, and this is ultimately what's going to be his legacy. I mentioned Google Cloud. That is a phenomenal growth story for Alphabet. But you also have Waymo. Waymo is the clear leader in autonomous driving today, giving about 250,000 rides in the US, and that is scaling at an extremely rapid rate. They're expanding to more cities this year. They're even going international, starting with launching in Japan. But this is a business that could be giving millions and millions of rides every single week with a better cost structure than you get from Uber today. You also have new platforms being built under Pichai's leadership. They recently announced Android XR. That's for XR glasses, so VR and AR glasses that are going to be powered by Android. You have an AI robotics platform that could be the platform that a lot of robotics companies are building their tools on top of. And of course, AI models in Google Cloud itself have become platforms for startups to build their businesses on top of. So when you look at how Sundar Pichai has both operated the business in the past and how he's setting up the business for the future, I think there's a lot to like about his leadership. He's also been a very solid steward of investor capital. You can see here that stock-based compensation has been coming down steadily for Alphabet for years. Return on assets also continues to climb. This is despite the fact the company is investing tens of billions of dollars in artificial intelligence. And with all of that cash generated, Alphabet is starting to buy back stock at a significant pace, reducing the number of shares outstanding and increasing earnings per share for long-term investors. Now, can Alphabet do more? That's always the case. The criticism of Alphabet has always been they're not a great product company. And that continues to be the case in artificial intelligence. ChatGPT hit the scenes and really caught Alphabet off guard in a lot of ways. To this day, the ChatGPT app continues to be much more popular than Gemini. If Alphabet isn't able to produce the new products that are needed in artificial intelligence, that's going to ultimately disrupt the business that has been so profitable over the past nearly 3 decades. Pichai has also moved the company into much more capital-intensive businesses like Google Cloud than you saw in the past, with businesses that are very scalable like search and Android in the entire advertising business. That presents a risk because a lot of the capital that's being created is ultimately being plowed back into the business. But when you take a step back and look at Sundar Pichai's tenure as CEO, I think there's a lot to like about what he's done with the company in the past. And as we look forward, has set the company up for success in the future, not only in artificial intelligence with both investments and acquisitions that have put Alphabet in a phenomenal position, but also in building new businesses that could drive the company's growth in the future. Businesses like Waymo, Android XR, subscriptions and services, and the Google Cloud have been phenomenal investments and continue to drive the company's growth. There are absolutely challenges for Alphabet, and not everything has gone right under Pichai's leadership. But I think this is one of the best operators in Silicon Valley today, and the performance of the business shows exactly how well he's done as CEO. Now, let me know what you think about Alphabet stock today and the leadership of Sundar Pichai at both Google and Alphabet. Leave those comments in the comments section below. And of course, check out fool.com/invest to get the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you here next time.